Hey guys, my name is Dr. Joel, and today I'm going to talk about my PLAB 1 experience. I just wanted to apologize for coming slightly closer to the webcam. I'm using my laptop microphone, so if I go too far away, the audio gets slightly muffled. I hope this isn't an issue. And again, if you have any questions about the video, just comment down below and I'll answer as many as I can. Hope you enjoy it. I'm a junior doctor from India, and I began my PLAB 1 journey from January of this year and wrote the exam in March. So I had approximately 2 months of preparation for my exam. So I just like to talk about my experience regarding the exam. Some questions I had that I wish were answered before my exam, some of the materials I used, and hopefully this will be of use to people preparing for the exam. Like I said, I began my preparation in mid-January and gave the exam in March. For the materials that I used, the major resource was a question bank called PLABABLE. So PLAB 1 being a multiple choice question type of exam, the best way to practice is by doing questions over and over again. The actual exam is a 180 question exam. A major component of that is doing each question in 1 minute, because the time for the exam is also 180 minutes. So time management becomes really important, and PLABABLE helps you do this extremely well. Apart from just practicing questions with PLABABLE, the question bank gives you explanations for each sort of question, and to an extent it tells you why the alternative questions are wrong as well. On top of this, there are also links provided where you can go into further detail regarding the answers to the questions. This is quite vital to my preparation, and I think you should use this as your main resource while preparing for the exam. Now, two supplementary books that I used were Oxford Handbook of Clinical Medicine and Oxford Handbook of Clinical Specialities. So many people ask, do you have to read these books from A to Z, from page 1 till the end? And the answer is no. These books I would generally open when I had a bit of a doubt or some sort of query regarding a topic that I wanted further information on. Say, for example, I was studying multiple sclerosis, and the information given by PLABABLE I felt wasn't enough. I would open these books to look into it more, because each topic is given quite in detail, and this basically supplemented my learning. Also, another material or another book that I used to prepare was USMLE First Aid, and some may see that book. It's several hundred pages, but you don't need to go through the entire book for preparation. I felt that the most useful part of the Step 1 book was looking at the pharmacology section for PLAB 1, because I found it very easy to remember the way it was presented in the Step 1 book. So yeah, once I began preparation, I went through PLABABLE one entire round, which was just doing the questions and utilizing the knowledge I already had from medical school. And after I finished the first round of PLABABLE, while I was doing it actually, I started creating flashcards. So this is where I come to my next resource, which is Anki. So Anki, I don't know the number of people who use it on a regular basis, but I found it critical to my PLAB 1 preparation. This is just a flashcard sort of free software where you can create questions and write answers to each question. It's extremely important for the memorizing portion of the learning of new materials. So the first stage when you learn is to understand everything, and that we hopefully would have done in medical school. So a large portion of what you prepare for PLAB 1 is memorizing some new points, especially NICE guidelines, because these are things that in our own respective countries we may not be aware about, because they're pretty particular or specific for United Kingdom. This is where Anki becomes critical because it offers the two main strategies for memorizing material, which is spaced repetition and active recall. So that really helped me memorize whatever I needed to remember for the exam. As you go through PLABABLE, you just find yourself making new flashcards, and this really helped in my learning experience. So Anki is very important. The last resource that I used was a software called Notion. So Notion is something where you can use in, again, very specific scenarios. I didn't use it to the same extent that I used Anki. But in Notion, what you need to do is you just create notes. I think there are plenty of good YouTube videos out there which explain how you use Notion. If you guys want me to show you how I used it, I can create another video on that. But it's pretty self-explanatory. Yeah, those are the main resources that I used. But honestly, as a backbone for my preparation, it was PLABABLE. And I would say Anki would have given me an equal amount of preparation as PLABABLE, because it's not only enough to understand material, you have to remember it. So coming to the actual exam, one particular question that I had before going into the exam was how similar the actual questions were to the PLABABLE question bank itself. With respect to this, I would say the entire format of the exam is very familiar to PLABABLE. So if you did the entire question bank, you'd feel quite at home while attempting the PLAB 1 question paper. However, that does not mean that every single question from the PLAB 1 exam is exactly identical to what you may have experienced in PLABABLE. Now, PLABABLE takes a lot of past questions that candidates have come across and sort of adds them to their entire archive of questions. So in this way, you'll definitely experience past questions when you're attempting PLAB 1, because their entire exam isn't composed of new questions. But if I were to give a ballpark figure of the similar questions with regard to things that I can actually identify, okay, I've seen this question before in PLABABLE, I would say about 50%. Yeah, I think about 40 to 50% of the exam was very familiar and was something that I saw in PLABABLE. Apart from that, so you may ask, how do you prepare for the other 50%? So you guys probably know in medicine you can't get everything down. There are just too many topics. But the best thing that you can do is do as much as you can. If I were to give a recommendation, I didn't do this myself, but if I would tell someone how to prepare, I would honestly recommend doing another question bank on top of PLABABLE. Now, from what I've heard, past medicine is a very good question bank apart from PLABABLE, because these are well recognized question banks that are designed very well. The software is good, and a lot of research and effort have been put into the question bank by their creators. I would definitely recommend doing another question bank. Now, with respect to doing question banks multiple times, I feel 2 times to 3 times is enough. Again, this is dependent on your memory. If you want to repeat a question bank multiple times for the sake of your memory, that's up to you. But honestly, I preferred reading the question or doing the questions just once and using Anki as a method to sort of memorize the material. There were also mocks that were provided along with the question bank. So the mocks generally cover all the questions that you've done in PLABABLE once more. So if you do the entire set of mocks, which are approximately 8 mocks, you end up doing the entire question bank another time. And apart from these mocks, you can even buy mocks from a resource called Swami. I haven't tried it, so I can't really attest how good it is. That was the extent of my preparation. And during the actual exam, one more thing that I was curious about while preparing were the number of ECGs, the number of X-rays, and sort of scans that you get in the exam, because not too many of these were covered while I was preparing. I didn't want to be blasted with things that I honestly haven't studied before in the exam. So in my experience, I didn't find too many on the actual exam. Scans are something that are tough to prepare for because you need prior experience to answer questions relating to scans. So what I would recommend is just going through scans that are already given in PLABABLE. But on top of that, just create a list of points regarding topics or important topics that you feel scans can pop up on. For example, consolidation of a lung abscess, etc. So those type of things are things that are expected by a junior doctor to identify. So I would recommend you doing that. Any other questions that you guys have regarding PLAB 1, just write it in the comment section down below, and I'll help you guys. But honestly, it wasn't a difficult exam. It's very doable. Again, time preparation, I would recommend about 2-3 months. And if you have any doubts about the materials that I used or how you use any of the materials that I mentioned, again, please mention in the comments. I'll try to answer as many as I can. Anyway, thank you for your time. I hope this helped, and good luck for your exam.